Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Politics Now. We're talking about modern politics in modern America. And today we're going to be looking at the DeSantis campaign right now and seeing how well it's doing. Spoiler alert, it's not doing too great. So, yeah, let's get into that. So, DeSantis has pretty much been flatlining over the past week or two, and he's been staying at around 14%. It's really because a lot of new polling after the debate and after the arrest hasn't come out, so there's not a lot of data for the major swings that has happened over the past couple of days with these major events for everyone's campaign in the primary. So while we're waiting for that to come out, let's just look at the polling right now, and it is not looking pretty for DeSantis. DeSantis is doing terribly. He is not going to win the nomination with these numbers. He's below 15%, and his opponent is beating him by 40 points. He is under threat of losing second place to Ramaswamy, and even going further than that, he could get to Nikki Haley and Mike Pence territory, and you do not want to be there, because if you're there, you're not having any shot at winning. Even if you pull off a miracle, it's not going to be enough for you to actually win the nomination. And DeSantis is getting very, very close to reaching that point, and after that point, his campaign is over. He's not winning Florida, he's not winning Utah, he's not winning any of these states. And if you don't win any states, you're not winning the nomination. No matter how good of a second place rookie you are, you're still the best loser. And really, you're just going to be a laughing stock, and you're not going to hold political office again because you made mistake after mistake after mistake in 2024. You've seen all of these people join in the race thinking they have a shot, and all of them fail. All of them have failed. DeSantis was the front runner for the anti-Trump campaign. He used to be at 30 points. Around before he announced, he was still relatively well liked by even a lot of Trump voters, and he was polling at around 30%, and then the indictments happened. He announced, he keeps falling, indictment, and just completely collapse. He's at 14%, and if I was going to win a nomination at 14%, I'm either doing some shady crap or I just pulled off a miracle, because you cannot win at 14%. Hillary Clinton in 2008, she was polling at around 45% and she didn't even win the nomination. You need to be polling at least 50% if it's a less competitive primary. If it's something like this, yeah, you could be probably polling at 45% and still win the nomination, where you have a lot more contenders and a lot of big contenders. And it's kind of like 2016, where the you could have won if you were at like 35% of the vote, because there's just so much people in here, and there's a lot of people who are taking massive votes away from you, like DeSantis, Ramaswamy, even Mike Pence for a little bit, until, you know, he destroyed his campaign. So you have a lot of big fish, and there is clearly a bigger fish because he's beating second place by 40 points, and that's Donald Trump. After the arrest, he's going to go up in the polls. He's going to gain a lot of independent support. And in places like New Hampshire, gaining a lot of independence is a absolute nightmare scenario, because it will pretty much kill any chance of any of these neocon never Trumper candidates from getting at least one state, because New Hampshire is probably the most neocon state, maybe outside of Utah. Utah, it's just Utah, and they vote neocon. They like Mitt Romney. It's very weird what happens there, but still, it's just Utah. But New Hampshire is second place, and it if Donald Trump is under any threat of losing a state, those states are Florida, Utah, because, it's Utah, and then New Hampshire. And they could possibly win those states. All of these other candidates could possibly have Trump lose those states. It doesn't mean that they're winning the nomination, because if Trump only loses 3 states, he still won a ton of other states. He won 47 other states compared to 3 states that would likely be split between all of these other candidates, with maybe DeSantis winning the majority in a couple of them. But that's not how you win a nomination, because if you win 3 states in a primary, you're not winning the nomination at all, especially if your opponent wins all the other states. And a lot of states, if you win the majority, you just win all of the delegates. You win all of them. It doesn't matter if it's a 50.1 to 49.9 split, you still win all of the delegates. And Florida is one of those states, and DeSantis is really banking on winning Florida, and that's going to be the turnaround for his campaign. And it's not looking too hot there either. So if DeSantis loses Florida, he's got nothing left. And with the electability argument, that's probably the main argument that DeSantis supporters use to justify his campaign. Well, looking at the polls, it's not looking too good. DeSantis does worse against Biden than Trump. Trump does pretty well against Biden, at least considering that it's Trump in the polls, and he's never been good in the general election polls. Even when he won, he still was not doing well in the polls. But considering how Biden is an incumbent president, and most Democrats, they have a stranglehold over the popular vote, it's pretty much what you need to be a Democrat past 2000, because Republicans, they still haven't won the popular vote ever since 2004. So if Trump were to win the popular vote, that is massive, and that is a real possibility with this poll. And it's really going to be a tough fight for the popular vote if it's Trump versus Biden. Now, DeSantis versus Biden, that's a whole different story. Biden is destroying DeSantis, and this was mostly polling done maybe 2 weeks ago before the debates, before the arrest. So Biden is might be winning by a lot more, and he might be at 6 or 7 points above DeSantis, which even if it's at 5.3 points, if that's the base margin, and we take in the margin of error, where all of the margin of error goes to DeSantis, Biden is still beating him by around 3 points, which that's not good at all. That's almost the amount of points that he was beating Trump in 2020. That is a disaster in the polling. And if you're losing by that much and you have a problem with winning against Biden by a decent majority, or at least making it a tough fight, then you're not going to go anywhere. So if you think DeSantis could somehow turn it around, leave that in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.